Hello, and welcome to everyone joining. Awa, Emeka, Favor, Frederick, Miriam, happy to see you. Marshall, Paul, Sam, Tessie. The room is filling up. I'm so happy to see everyone joining today for our webinar on strategic communications, maximizing career opportunities through networking. My name is Jennifer Bongura, and I am Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation. We will get started shortly as the room fills up. So thank you to everyone who is joining. We are so excited to have you here. A little bit of housekeeping. We will have time for Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. I have a notebook here that I'm going to be taking notes on. If I see things come up in the chat, I'm doing my best to present and keep an eye on the chat. So since the chat gets a little wild sometimes, please put your questions in the Q&A. Maybe you're going to forget it, and I will be sure to make time at the end of the presentation to cover them. Very happy to see everyone here for such an, especially with graduation coming up. If anyone here is going to graduation, let us know so we can celebrate you. Even if you're not attending graduation, though, this is going to, I hope, have some helpful tips for you as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. Some brief introductions here. My name is Jennifer Bongura, like I said, and I'm Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation. My background is in higher education, online learning, and career development. And what I get really excited about every day is thinking about how our Nexford learners and alumni can really immediately apply what you're learning in the next space to your career, so that you can pivot and promote and achieve that career success that you've set out for yourself as a goal when you enrolled at Nexford. I'm originally from the United States, and I currently live in Malawi in Southern Africa, where I support our Nexford community from. So here is a brief agenda of what we're going to cover today. And thank you to everyone who's letting us know where you're joining from. So we are going to cover, I just did some introductions. We're going to talk about how to prepare before you go to an event. I am going to give examples today in the context of graduation, because that's this weekend in Nigeria, in Lagos. If you're not in Lagos, if you're not attending graduation, that's okay. Like I said, just apply, think about, another event, whether it's virtual or in person, that you can apply this advice to. I want to give you some concrete examples, though, so that you can really see exactly what I mean when I'm giving you specific advice when it comes to communications and networking. So we're going to be talking about before the event, how to prepare for success during the event, how you can maximize your connections while you're at an event, in this case, graduation, and then after the event and specific follow-up strategies. So then we'll have time for a Q&A and talk about what comes next. So I love this quote. Sometimes, and we have questions coming in, people think about networking and they think something schmoozy, they think passing out business cards, asking somebody for a job, asking for help, all of those things. I found this quote, though, and I thought it really captured what I think of when it comes to networking, and what I hope you can think of too. I realize I'm speaking a little quickly, so I wanted to slow down. So this quote says, networking is not about just connecting people. It's about connecting people with people, people with ideas, and people with opportunities. So think about the next event that you're going to. This could be a lot of different things, right? Networking can happen anywhere. It can happen at an exercise class. It can happen somewhere in, your faith community, whether you're going to the mosque or going to church. It can happen at a formal networking event. when you meet people, you're not just we never want to be transactional, which means what can I get out of you or what are you getting out of me, right? I want you to think when you networking, I want you to think about building relationships, okay? And how are you building relationships when you're going out in the world? Again, this could be in person, it could also be for virtual events, because you might have an idea that's brewing. Maybe you have a startup, a company that you're looking to begin. Maybe you're looking for an opportunity. Maybe somebody else is looking for an opportunity at your company. There's lots of different ways. We're going to talk about this throughout the presentation, but I just want to put this quote out there that we're thinking about more than just transactional meeting people and asking for a job. We want to go beyond that, and we want to think about how we are really building relationships and connecting new ideas and opportunities with people. So why is networking crucial for career success? I'm sure many of you have heard, that no man is an island. When we work together, we get further than going alone, or different versions of that quote. When you look at people, I think social media, LinkedIn, other platforms, it often gives this false impression that people have achieved career success on their own, that somehow they have gotten to be whatever job it is, they've gotten a promotion on their own work, right? When you think about your life, when you think about your experience, when you think about your education at Nexford, we all know this isn't true, right? We all depend on other people. We are interconnected. And when it comes to our career success, can you achieve career success by yourself? Maybe. However, you are going to go so much further, so much faster when you build a community of people around you. So I've outlined 3 ways here that networking and building relationships with people can really promote your career success. So it helps you with opportunities. When you meet somebody, like I said, maybe it's at a networking event, maybe it's at a faith space, maybe it is when you go to the grocery store. You never know what's going to happen in the future or even in that moment. I'll give an example from this weekend. I went to an exercise class and I didn't know anybody. There were only 5 other people there. I didn't know anybody. At the end of the class, we're talking about how hard it was, right? And I introduced myself to one of the other participants in the class. And we work in the very similar space. We do similar types of work, but we'd never met before, even though we live in a pretty small community. And now we're getting together for tea later this week. Is this going to turn into a job opportunity for her or for me? Maybe not, probably not, right? But we don't know what is in the future, okay? And regardless, a good friendship or relationship, or friendship rather, can come out of that chance encounter. You have to put yourself out there for those types of opportunities to come to you, though. Again, this could be from your home if you're going to a webinar like you are here now at this webinar, or if you're going to in-person events. But what that could lead to down the road is, I meet this person and then we are hiring at Nexford. She's maybe a perfect fit. I send her the job opportunity and she applies, or vice versa, right? So these are things that you need to plant the seeds for in your life. And you have to put yourself out there. Again, you're already here at a webinar, but think about the future opportunities that can come when you start to build relationships now. The next is visibility. So what I mean here is when you start to associate yourself with people, companies, industries, specific industries, over time, people will start to connect those ideas with you. For example, when I met this person this weekend at the exercise class and I introduced myself, our mutual friend said, "Oh my gosh, I meant to introduce you all. You both work in education. Jennifer, I know you work, I see your posts, I know that you work in that space." Think about how you want to establish yourself, and what that means. Now, we all don't need to become social media influencers. That's not what I'm saying. But we all do need to cultivate a certain identity related to our personal and professional brand if we want people to quickly and easily associate certain things with us, right? If you want to have a career, right now, as a financial analyst, if that's what you have set forth for yourself, you need to let people know that that's the type of work that you want to do. And when you start to build a network and build relationships with people in that field, over time, people will continue to associate that, industry or role with you. Finally, networking and building relationships, it gives you this support system, right? So when you are looking for help, or you want to understand what it's like to work at a specific company, it's really hard to get that sort of asking a random person who, insert company name. But when over time you've made the effort to build relationships and build that network around you, you're going to also at the same time build a support system. And I'm going to show you in another slide specifically, how to outline and do that so that you have a list that you can turn to. But when you are thoughtful about the relationships that you build, you're also being thoughtful in the support system that you're creating for yourself. So thank you to everyone who's adding your LinkedIns here, getting connected. So please, if you do have questions, add those to the chat. I see some are coming in. So thank you to everyone for sharing that. So I'm breaking this down into 3 stages of how to, maximize opportunities through networking. I want to think about the before, the during, and the after. Okay, so the before here is, that you have an event, again, for example, graduation coming up this Saturday in Lagos. If somebody wants to share another example in the chat, let us know. Is there another conference that maybe you're attending in person, or is there an online, a webinar where they have listed the speaker names? Whatever it might be, think about, something in the future. We're going to talk now about strategies you can use before the event. A lot of people, when you think about networking, you're thinking about the event itself. But in order to make the most of that event and the people that you're going to meet there, doing a little prep work beforehand will make it so much easier. And I really like to spend a lot of time thinking about this before, because I will admit, I am an extrovert, which means I love being around people. I get energy from being around people. Maybe you identify as an extrovert too, and you like that. Or maybe you're an introvert and the idea of a networking event fills you with like a lot of fear or dread. Either way, and this is coming from someone who enjoys being around strangers and new people. Even for me, I like to do a lot of research before going to specific networking events so that I can feel more comfortable and more prepared, right? Knowledge is power here. So let's talk about some specific strategies. So first is define your purpose. Now this, these tips are when you're going to a formal networking event here. I don't mean before you go out to an exercise class or before you are going to an event in your community, right? This is specifically for an event where you're going to be meeting other professionals in your field. So define your purpose. You think about an event like graduation. Some people are going and they already have a job and they are not necessarily actively job seeking, right? So maybe they're looking for a promotion in their current company, and that's why they pursued their program at Nexford. Or maybe, they're happy with the job that they have and are not looking to change for a certain amount of time. Other people might be actively job seeking. Maybe you don't have a job and you would like to have one. Okay, so that's a purpose. Others, you might have a startup, you might have a company. So many of our Nexford learners and alumni, one of the goals that they set for themselves when they start learning at Nexford is to start a business. So is that a goal that you have? Maybe you have that in addition to maintaining your formal employment. You want to start a business and you want to keep your current job. This is something that I cannot tell you what your purpose in networking is, right? Only you can know. I can help you tease it out a little bit. I can keep you thinking about it. But really, you have to ask yourself, okay, I'm going to this event, I'm going to graduation. What is my intention? Maybe my only purpose is to celebrate, right? Think about what it is, though. Maybe you want to write it down. What are 1 to 2 things that you are hoping to achieve when you go to this specific event? Next is practicing your elevator pitch. So I'm sure you've heard this phrase, elevator pitch. It really intends to, what it means is how long you would talk about yourself on an elevator ride. So maybe 60 to 90 seconds. What happens a lot of times here is somebody says, hey, so hi, it's great to meet you. Tell me more about you. And somebody launches into a long story. They say, I was born in this city in this year. This is what my parents do. This is what my siblings do. Here's how many kids I have. That's not what people are typically looking for at a networking event, right? Think about how you can, and a way to frame it is a past, present, future model. So you can say, well, I have been working toward my MBA for the past 18 months, studying artificial intelligence and automation so that I can pursue a career in the field. Currently, I work as an analyst at this company, and in the future, I hope to do XYZ, right? If some people who have a hard time, and that's all of us, right? We can all have a hard time being concise. If you have a hard time being concise, just use that framework of past, present, future, so that people can understand where you're coming from, where you are, and where you're going. But it really also takes practice. So spend some time practicing with your friends, with your family, with other Nexford learners before you go to whatever event it is. And finally, I'm sure I don't have to say this to our Nexford community, because whenever I've met any of you, you are the best dressed people I've ever met. But dress for success. You know, how we present ourselves to the world is a reflection, you know, of how others are going to perceive us. So make sure you're dressing appropriately for whatever event it is that you're going to. So that is the before, right? You're around what your purpose is, how you're going to present your elevator pitch, or when people ask that question, tell me about yourself, you'll practice that. And then you're mapping out maybe what you're going to wear, how you're going to present yourself. When most times, I would say, before an event, if there are going to be specific speakers or companies present, the event planners will let you know who that is. So what I've done here, again, I'm giving you a specific example with graduation coming up on Saturday in Lagos. I've pulled from our webpage some of the companies that are going to be at the career fair and the startup demo. Nobody should be attending graduation or, you know, a certain event and be totally surprised about who is there. You're going to have some surprises, right? And that's okay. But you can be in control of how you're preparing for the event. So you can see some logos on here. There's 9 Mobile, Amazon Web Services, FITC, Innerswitch, Shortlist, which is a recruiting agency, Sterling Bank, Waka Now, Nestle. You have a lot of information, even just knowing the company names of who's going to be there. There will be hiring managers, recruiters, company leaders from all of these companies in attendance. If you're not going to graduation, think about what other event you're going to and who are they showing on the website that's attending. And I want you to get in the mindset of a researcher. Treat your job search and your career like a research assignment, right? And again, no one can really do the research for you because people don't know what types of jobs you're interested in, what department, right? You do though. So think about what those answers are, and I'm going to show you a little framework for how you can do that so that you can really be prepared when you walk through that door. So for example, if I know that Innerswitch is going to be at an event, and I really get excited about the idea of working at Innerswitch, which is a great company, great employer, I am going to go to their LinkedIn page, and you see here, I'm going to make sure I'm following them on LinkedIn so I can see updates when they make them on the platform. Every LinkedIn page has these different headers, and you can do this if you're on a desktop. It's hard to do if you're on mobile while in this webinar, but you can see it says home, about, it might say products, posts, jobs, and then people. Going into an event, I want to make sure that I at least understand what are the basics of what Innerswitch does. Can I look at some of the recent social media posts? And maybe I have a notebook where I'm going to write down 1 to 2 things that caught my eye. And maybe I'll have that notebook as a little cheat sheet before I go in. Maybe you have an app, a notes app on your phone where you want to keep it. Maybe you have a spreadsheet. Everybody has different methods that work for them, right? But they have over 1,500 employees, as I've circled here. So definitely there are Nexford alumni who work at Innerswitch. You'll be able to research the people who are attending and see their profiles. The purpose here is that I'm going in knowing that there are going to be recruiters and hiring managers from Innerswitch at this event that I'm going to. And I want to make sure that if I, by chance, meet one of them, or if I, find them in the crowd, or, go up to their booth, that I'm not asking them, so what does Innerswitch do? Can you tell me about your company? No, I'm going into this networking event. Wow, it's great to see the recent post about this initiative that you all are doing. That was really cool to see on LinkedIn and this person that was involved. Could you tell me more about that? When you go into events, again, we're still in the before. It doesn't take that much effort. It does take effort, but when you go just a little bit above and beyond others, you're going to be leaps and bounds beyond. Other people are going to go in there and say, I've never heard of Innerswitch before, even though the logo is on our website, it was advertised that they're going to be at this career fair. So think about how can you put in a little extra effort and really stand out from other people who are at these different events, okay? So this is something that I would recommend doing. You can do it for this company, you can do it for all of the other companies. And again, treat it like research that you would do for a paper or for an assignment, because the assignment here is your career. And so you're keeping in your mind, what is my purpose here? Is it to build connections because I work in sales for another company? Is it maybe one day I'd like to work at this company? Is it I work for a competitor and it's just good to build relationships because you never know when, something could come out of that? Again, you think about your purpose and then tailor your research accordingly. A way that you can map your career goals. So if you've attended some other webinars, I use this example a lot because I think it's really helpful when people get overwhelmed by well, how do I map out what my purpose is, right? Think about the job titles or the functions that you'd like to have. Maybe it's entrepreneur, maybe it's product manager, maybe it's business analyst, maybe it's customer service representative. It could be anything, right? We have people representing so many different specializations here. But get specific and write down what those roles and functions are. When you do that before you go to a networking event, you're going to be meeting so many people. Of course, we have recruiters and hiring managers coming in just this graduation, but imagine you go to this event, people are bringing their parents, their siblings, their partners. They all presumably either work somewhere or know people who work at places, right? So when you meet somebody's husband, wife, father, mother, and they say, oh, so tell me about what you did at Nexford. You can say, here's what I studied. And then they say, oh, so what are you hoping to do next? You know what? Actually, I've been putting a lot of thought into that. I'm really excited about exploring opportunities in this role, this function, this job title, right? And you can list it because you, before the event, have spent time actually thinking about what it is, right? People are going to ask you what you plan to do next. I know, maybe for better or for worse, right? So come ready with an answer. Maybe you don't have a specific job title in mind, though. This is where the industries comes into play. You can say, well, I did my MBA with a focus in sustainability. So I'm really excited about opportunities in climate, the green economy, sustainability, whatever it might be. Think about the different industries that come to mind when you think about what your intention is when you go to a different event. Or maybe you have specific companies that you want to work for. List those out. Maybe they're not at that event, but you might, again, meet somebody new and say, well, my dream is to work for Deloitte or Google or, Steers, the research company, whatever it might be. That when you get specific with people, you're getting specific with yourself first. And that's going to serve you well, because when you meet people at an event, they want to know, they don't want to being vague. Well, I'd really just like to have a job. That's not going to help people be able to help you. When you get specific and say, here are the top 3 companies I'm excited about targeting, people, that's going to help jog people, help people's minds to help you. Oh, you know what? My best friend from my last job now works there. Let me see if I can help, with an introduction. And then finally, people. And I'll show you in a slide or two what I mean when I say, specific people and how they can help you advance in your career, right? So now we've talked about preparing before the event, before whatever networking event it is, and what to do to prepare for success. With the research that you've done, really getting specific with what your purpose is, the types of job functions that you would like to have, the companies that you want to pursue. Let's talk now about how you can have success during the event itself and maximizing those connections. And I'm going to refer back to a lot of what I shared and how you're preparing before, while we're talking about the during. So first, I've got 4 things outlined here. I want you to think about how you can approach and initiate conversations. What I would love, but maybe you would like this too, is I would love for somebody to come to me on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and say, Jennifer, here's how you can map out the success for your career. Here on a plate, here are jobs that you can have, here are people, here are opportunities, right? That's probably not going to happen, or it would be very expensive to hire my own private daily, monthly coach to just give me every, could happen, but it's unlikely. So I want you to think about, how can you be proactive? How can you put yourself in the driver's seat when you are networking and building those relationships? I don't mean you need to walk up to every person you meet and stick your hand in their face. No, but if you see somebody, please don't be at graduation just being on your phone, right? With your phone in front of your face, taking pictures or texting people who aren't at the event. Engage with the people around you. Be with them, approach them, ask them what they're excited about that certain event, what brought them there. Be curious about other people, and I promise you will start to have a really interesting conversation if you can put your phone away and be present and engage with the people around you. Next, a way to really maximize your connections is to navigate whatever space you're in with confidence. Confidence, that means different things to different people, but ultimately, when you feel at your best and most ready to connect with other people. Does that mean that your favorite earrings or your favorite shirt, favorite shoes, whatever you can do beforehand to feel confident about a space? Some people like to know the name of a venue and then look at the map and see where different things are going to be so that you can feel confident about where you need to go. Other people don't mind entering a space that is new to them and exploring beforehand. So whatever you need to do to feel confident and comfortable in a space, think about what that is so that you can do so beforehand. Next is being a good listener and having those effective listening and communication techniques. Here, I mean, ask questions of other people. If you don't understand, seek clarification. Somebody says a certain word or a topic, show that you're listening and say, that sounds really interesting. Like, could you tell me more about that? I've never heard that term before. I have 2 young children, and what I love to encourage in them, and I love when they raise their hand. Well, they don't raise their hand at home, but right, they say, what does that word mean? Maybe I'll say something when we're reading, and I say, you know what, I would love to tell you what that word means. If I don't know, we look it up together. But it's something that adults, we are often taught to pretend like we know everything that's happening around us, or else we'll look stupid, right? Usually, actually, the smartest people in the room are the ones who admit when they don't know something, because then you don't run the risk of looking stupid by pretending you know something you don't, right? So please be an active and engaged listener and ask questions and be curious about the people you're connecting with. And then finally, consider challenges. Again, this might be different for everybody. You might, if you're a little harder of hearing, think about how you can be in a space that's maybe a little bit quieter, right? If you get nervous and you need something in your hand, see if you could maybe get a cup of tea to have, if that makes you feel better, feel a little bit more comfortable to have something in your hand. Or maybe you get nervous and your hands shake, so you want to make sure you don't have food or drink in your hand, right? Consider what obstacles might come up so that you can be fully present and engaged with the people around you to make the most of your time with them. Again, this is for the upcoming graduation. We will have a masterclass at the startup and demo and career fair. And we have some really amazing speakers who are who are going to be present. See their names listed here. Again, whatever event you're going to, it's very likely. Oh, 1 second. I'm so sorry. Everybody, one pause. I have the key. Thank you for your patience. So when you go into the startup demo and career fair, you're going to see these people in live, okay? So we have their titles and the company names here. What can you do during the event? Well, I know before the event, you are already going to have looked up the companies that these people work for and how you fit in with maybe how your purpose fits in with this company or these people, right? So, we have Oris, we have Amazon Web Startup, the startups leader for Sub-Saharan Africa for Amazon Web Services. Oh my gosh. We have someone from the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, and then we have the country director for Nestle, country human resources manager. Maybe you are not going to necessarily have the opportunity to speak with every one of these people, but you might have the chance to meet one of them, or you're going to want to be collecting information to think about the after, right? So during the event, I want you to think about what notes am I taking on the master class that these folks are going to give that's going to be relevant for the follow-up. How am I being present and engaged with these speakers who are coming to spend time with you? Again, this is for graduation, but whatever event it might be, so that you can make the most. When you're clear on your purpose, it's going to be easier for you to pick up on the information they're sharing that's relevant to your goals. So if I want to be an entrepreneur, I immediately know I want to make sure I'm paying attention to Napa's speech, and that I am following up with her, or connecting with her on LinkedIn, or following her on LinkedIn, so that I can potentially get my startup in front of her one day and maybe I'm going to get investment, or maybe I'll get acquired by AWS, right? Who knows what's possible? We are trying to set a fertile ground here for you to have these opportunities today, now and in the future. Okay, we're planting the seeds so that we can benefit from the shade in the future. And you have to be the one that's proactive and putting in the effort to really focus on what these folks are sharing with their insights, so that you're going to have something as content to build on in your follow-up. And thank you to everyone who's being engaged here on the chat, and everyone's joining from so many places, which is wonderful. And please keep those questions coming in the Q&A. Okay, and then here are our speakers, right? So we have, of course, our CEO will be speaking, our Chief Academic Officer. We have Dr. Obi, who is also on Nexford's board of directors, and then Tonya Cole, who runs the Sahara Group, the executive director. So similarly for the speakers, they're going to be sharing insights and information. And I just want to make sure, and I'm going to encourage you, again, this is graduation, but whatever event that it's going to be, presumably you're going to an event that's related to the industry or area that you're excited about. So prepare beforehand so that you can know who's going to be in the room and how, you can be taking the best notes and making sure you're prepared to potentially ask good questions. There's likely going to be the opportunity for a Q&A. And so you want to go in having as much information beforehand so that during the presentation, you're able to ask thoughtful questions, not just to talking, but they're going to actually generate some interesting insights and conversation. And then here, again, we've talked about the before of networking, the during. Here are some of my, the tips that I can share with you. Be authentic, okay? You don't have to go into any event or space pretending to be somebody that you aren't. It's exhausting it's exhausting in the present, but it's also impossible to maintain in the future. And so when you are who you are at different networking events, and you're the same in your professional space and personal. Now, of course, we all love to hang out on the couch, watch Netflix, be in our pajamas. I don't mean to be too authentic. Be authentic and be aware of the space and the place that you're in, right? But think, be yourself. Think about the different interests that you have that make you unique, that might resonate with somebody, right? Maybe you do like a specific show on Netflix that, somebody else might want to watch and talk about rather. Or maybe you have a specific hobby that you think is going to resonate with somebody. Second, like I said before, present. I think this is actually one of the most difficult things that people experience when networking. And it's a problem for everybody around the world, right? Everybody has their phone out. And how does it feel when you're talking with someone and oh yeah, 1 second. Let me get my phone. I gotta answer this text. You immediately feel unimportant because you're less important. You're indicating to somebody that whoever or whatever is behind this phone is more important than what's on the other side. So please, I beg of you, be present when you are connecting with other people. I have heard stories of, people are at work meetings. And this is also for me on an authenticity. I like to treat everybody the same. I don't want to treat somebody who's the CEO, talk to them more nicely than I'm going to talk to someone who is the receptionist, right? That's part of my values and authenticity. But I have heard some horror stories about just even a work meeting where, during a break time, somebody goes around and they're talking and somebody, oh, I'm on my phone, wait a minute. And it's actually like the head of the whole organization, which again, shouldn't matter who it is. And people, I've seen them give feedback and say, you know what, you should really put your phone away so that we can have this opportunity that's really rare to be in person with, so many people and focus. It's like really precious when you can give your attention to somebody. So don't be that person who is disregarding the opportunities in front of you in favor for opportunities that can be addressed later. So if that means you need to put your phone in your pocket, in your purse, lock it away, take your pictures, but then be ready to engage with people around you. Next, be curious. So a lot of times too, people think of networking as, I only need to talk about myself. Now, it is important that you're coming into an event knowing what your purpose is, like I said, knowing what what you want to get out of it, what types of opportunities that you're excited about. At the same time, it says a lot about you when you're curious about other people, when you can ask questions that are thoughtful and engage people in conversation. Typically, then it becomes a conversation, right? If you don't want it to be a monologue on either side, one person only speaking, or whether it's you or the person you're with. But when you can ask questions about other people, it makes them, and they're going to want to hopefully reciprocate. And then finally, and this last piece of advice is the one that many people, maybe they do the first three okay. The follow-up is very rare. Okay, and we're going to talk about this now as we move into the after the event. But I promise you, people are going to say to you, please reach out to me if you have any questions after. 9 times out of 10, or maybe 99 out of 100, people are not going to take people up on that offer, right? It's just not going to happen. And people think, oh, they really didn't mean it. I say, if somebody makes an offer, to please be in touch if there's anything I can do for you. Take them at their word that they really mean it. Now, that doesn't mean that you follow up and say, hi, how are you? That's it. No. When I say follow up here, I mean you are being thoughtful. You are taking the time to recap. It was so great to meet you at this event and to talk more about X. I love hearing the story where you shared this part of your career, right? Thank you for inviting me to follow up and to stay in touch. I will look for, just even doing this right after the event. You're not going to have to do it for 100 people, right? But maybe the top 5 people, again, whether it's on your phone that you make a note or you have an actual physical list, I want you to think about when you're at whatever event that it is, how are you going to follow up with people? Okay. Make sure that you're staying in touch and maintaining that connection afterwards. And here you really, like I said, networking is about building relationships, and you want to build relationships that last, because you never know how, on this first point, there's times in our lives when we're givers and there's times when we're takers. And we want to set ourselves up for success for both directions, right? Maybe you are job seeking now and you're really eager to meet somebody who's going to help you get to that next level in your career. Well, in a year or two, maybe 6 months, a year, say you've achieved that. Already, I know that as part of the Nexford community, people are already looking to you as someone who has achieved something that they have a goal of. They want to get their master's, they want to get their bachelor's degree. So you already, no matter if you're job seeking or what, you're already in that position where somebody's looking at you and saying, oh, gosh, I wish I could do what Emeka did, or everyone in this room, if I could say all 100 plus of your names, right? So think about being someone who's generous with your own insights and information, because at the same time, you're going to be asking other people for their how they've navigated their career. Somebody's going to want to ask the same of you too. Focus on quality of relationships, right? Here, someone might want to say, wow, I have thousands of connections on LinkedIn, this and that. What I would encourage you to focus on really is the quality, because the quality is really what matters more than the quantity. And I'm sure you see this in your own personal life, right? It's not great. It's probably more overwhelming to have 50 friends rather than, 5 really close ones who you feel really connected to and like you're in a safe space. It's great to have 50 friends too, right? But when you're thinking about your career, I want you to try and focus on really your quality of connections. And then be consistent. So consistency is important to people, and how you show up and how you present with yourself to the world. That's that authenticity, and in how you're staying in touch with people and giving them updates, delivering on what you said you were going to deliver. So we've got a little bit more time. I hope you're enjoying this presentation as much as I have enjoyed preparing for it and delivering it. I'm seeing questions here in the chat. Excuse me, in the Q&A. Keep them coming, because we'll have time just shortly to go over them. And I'm just going to keep an eye on the chat here. We've got some LinkedIn. I'm seeing everyone make sure you're customizing your LinkedIn URL. I see a lot of letters and numbers that you can customize. So Google how to customize your LinkedIn URL so you remove that random string of numbers and letters. So let's talk about after the event and some follow-up strategies that you can use for your success. So first, personalize your follow-up messages, right? Somebody gives you, and this happens, I'm sure it happens to you, it happens to me. You give your WhatsApp number to somebody, you connect on LinkedIn, and somebody says, "Hi, give me a job. Hi, how are you? Hi, help me." Okay. This is not helpful for anybody. For yourself, it's just going to be frustrating for you because people don't like receiving those messages. It's not helpful for the person receiving it because they don't know how to help you, right? So if you have a conversation, again, you're not going to have time to have a conversation with 100 people, but if you have a conversation with 5 people and you can remember 1 or 2 things that came out of that conversation to follow up on, you are putting yourself in the 1% of people who are following up after a networking event or experience. Because I'm going to tell you, the vast majority of people are not doing this. Okay. And that's what's going to set you apart and keep you in mind when that opportunity comes up, when that person is starting a company and looking for someone who has your background, your skills, your experience, right? Leverage LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Something that you can do, and I won't guarantee that you'll have success with this, but I can strongly believe that you will. Share 3 takeaways from your graduation. You all got, again, this is graduation, but it could be any event. If you have the little image with your picture in it that you're able to create, why don't you post that and say, here are the top 3 things I learned from attending graduation. Here are the top 3 things I learned going to this event, right? That helps solidify for you what were your 3 takeaways, right? So that you can reflect on it. It's going to cement your value, your thought leadership, your expertise in a specific area. It's going to associate with you with whatever event that you've been to. So look at what other people are doing. Every event now, it has a hashtag, so you can see what other people are posting. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You can post, here are 3 things I wish I'd done differently at this networking event, right? Whatever it is, maybe it's just one thing. Maybe you don't want to have to think of 3. Here's the top thing that I did that gave me success. But when you leverage different social media platforms, you're reinforcing your connection to either an industry, an event, a company, an association. And if you're connecting yourself to any of the speakers that we have coming up at graduation, I can guarantee you're putting yourself in good company, right? And then finally, I'm repeating it here because it really is so important. And I'm saying it as much to myself as I'm saying it to you, but set a reminder. Maybe graduation is Saturday. So maybe in 2 weeks' time, you want to put an event on your calendar. Follow up with the people who attended. Reach out to other alumni or reach out to other attendees at the conference. Maybe there's 3 people you met. Reach out to the speaker. Thank them for their time. No matter where people are in the hierarchy, if you believe someone being in the CEO means they're at the top or whatever, people really appreciate being appreciated, even if they're the CEO, and especially when you can be specific. Dear, head speaker, thank you for making the time to speak at our graduation at this event. My takeaway from it was X, They are going to share their takeaways. Show that you were listening. Listen to the recording if you missed it, right? Everything is recorded and on YouTube now. Follow up with people and try to be as specific as you can with your, your follow-up to them, because then that's going to, it was great meeting you and talking about our shared love for this show. It helps jog their memory of who you are and how you connected, right? So set that reminder. Thank you so much. We have covered a lot of ground today. We covered what networking is and why it's critical for your career success. Talked about how you can prepare before networking events and what you can do related to your research, how you're going to talk about your elevator pitch, how you're going to research the people who are attending and the companies that will be present. We talked about success strategies during an event, being present, asking good questions. And we talked about success strategies after an event, making sure we follow up, making sure we, reach out to people and thank them for their time. I want to thank you for your time. You all there's over 100 of you that are here live. Hello to everyone on the recording. Thank you so much for being with us here today. I hope these strategies have helped you think about how you're going to maximize your own opportunities through networking. I'm going to now take a look at our Q&A so that we have some hands raised, but if you could please put the questions in the Q&A, that'll be easiest. Somebody asks a really wonderful question here. We have, how do you steer the conversation beyond initial greetings? For an introvert, this can seem like a lot of work and leave them dry-tongued and tilting towards anxiety. And this person says that we should have deliberate networking. So yep, there's going to be a career fair, for example, at this graduation. And we also have a partnership with Localized, which they're having their own Green Talent Forum today. So if you haven't signed up to look at those and, different career events, they're happening all the time. So thank you for this great question. So the question, and this is again, so if you are an introvert, this is where I like to do research beforehand. Maybe that's again about myself. What are the things that I'm excited about or curious about lately? What am I reading? What news have I seen that I think is interesting? If you don't want to answer those questions for yourself, you really should come in. What are maybe 3 questions I could ask somebody beyond talking about the traffic, the weather? Think about what would you want somebody to ask you? Because if you ask somebody else that question, maybe they're going to ask you. So I think when you think about professional events, you can ask generic things about what are you most excited about? What company did you see any of the companies that are attending? Which one are you excited about being here? Tell me more about what brought you to this specific event. What's something that you're looking forward to? Usually if you can, I like to ask people, what's one of the best things that's happened to you recently? Yeah, or what are you looking for? Are you taking any holidays or spending any time celebrating someone's birthday? Usually you don't have to you don't have to say, what's the best theoretical research paper you read recently, right? Tell me about something that you're reading, whatever it is, again, that you would maybe want to talk about for yourself. Think about what that could be for other people. I hope that helps. I don't know this question about for folks who are graduating after in December. And I know that if you keep an eye on your email and the WhatsApp group and other forms of communication, that I'm sure that there will be other graduation ceremonies. So don't worry, more to come. Ooh, someone has another question about conversation starters. I should have like a list already in my mind, but I don't have it. What I'm going to say too, that I would do right now, if you haven't used ChatGPT or used Google for this type of question, Google it, right? What are some good conversation starters for a networking event? Either you Google it, or even better, go to ChatGPT and say, I am attending an event focused on sustainability and the circular economy. Can you suggest some good conversation starters for me to use? So you don't need to go into the event and say, oh, wait 1 second, I have my question here. I would like to know, okay, no, we don't have to come in looking like a total researcher, right? Even though you are. But do a little preparation beforehand and search what maybe are some questions, because again, this is going to be different for everybody. Some people don't watch Netflix, and so they're not going to want to ask somebody, what's a show that you watch on Netflix? Other people, we all have different interests. So think about maybe what are the, 1 to 2 questions that you feel comfortable asking. And if you don't know what they are, Googling some ideas. And I hope that's sort of helpful, although I'm sending you off to do research on your own question. And then this one for graduation, I know for this week, you have to have registered a while ago, so that is closed, but yes, it is only for graduates, so that's not, but yeah. Okay, so I think that with the questions that are coming in now are not necessarily related to the presentation, and they're still great questions. So please send them to your success advisor or follow up, because we love hearing your feedback and making sure we can act on it and integrate it for either future webinars. So I'm getting some good feedback here. Oh, we have even awesome. Thank you so much to my colleague who's putting our contact information in the chat. Nexford learners and alumni, I want to say you all are amazing. I leave every webinar and interaction feeling inspired and motivated because you all are such an engaged community, and it's great to be a part of it. Whatever networking event that you have coming up, I hope that today's presentation has equipped you with the tools, skills, knowledge that you need to go into it with confidence, and that you're feeling prepared to do even better research. And I really hope this is awesome. Someone saying thank you for this presentation, that it's extremely insightful. They attended 2 conferences just in August and got into conversations with people, but hadn't followed up, and they're going to implement the strategy. This is music to my ears. Remember, yeah, I love that. And thank you for the reframing here. If you've been to something in the past, it's not too late to follow up. Look them up on LinkedIn. Personalize that connection request. Remind people of where you met them, so how you can connect again, and maybe they, made that offer to go get coffee or tea. Everyone will get a copy of the recording and a copy of the presentation. Really appreciate you all making the time. And I love that. Someone says, thank you for this wonderful presentation. It's definitely going to make me a better person. I'm sure you already are wonderful. I can't wait to hear. Please keep us posted on your networking success. Again, this is Jennifer Bongura, your Director of Career Innovation. Really looking forward to hearing how your networking events go. Take care and see you all online.